In general, I'm not a fan of stop motion animation. It's just not something that usually grabs my attention. And in the past, stop motion has generally been the field of people like Tim Burton. And I just honestly am not as big of a fan of Tim Burton's style and the stories that he tells. That being said, if the story is really good and it's something that I connect with, I can easily overcome those reservations that I have about this style of animation. And what Wes Anderson has done with Isle of Dogs has definitely reached that mark for me. Wes Anderson has constructed a fantastic story that I honestly feel is probably one of the most original stories that we've seen yet this year. Yes, every movie and every story is inspired by different kinds of stories, but I feel like Wes Anderson's done a really good job constructing a story that feels original, that feels unique. The decisions that were made in how language was communicated, I think were fantastic. It really helped make the movie feel that much more immersive, and I think they did just the right amount of balance of leaving us in the dark as non-Japanese speakers, of leaving us in the dark to identify with the dogs, but also having opportunities to translate the language so that we can still understand the story. One of the sayings that's out there, though, is particularly in animation, if you can take away all the dialogue, all the sounds, and still understand what's going on in a film, then you've made it right. And I feel like this just proves that he's made it right. With the exception of a couple of very artistic scenes in which a lot of details in the animation are intentionally taken away for artistic purposes, I feel like in general, you understand what's going on in this film. The story has a fantastic flow to it. There's really only a couple of elements of the story that I feel like maybe didn't belong in there so much. I'm not going to go into spoilers, but there is a character that I felt was not very necessary and probably would have been better taken out. Part of me wonders if they left said character in just to have a little bit more diversity, both in just what characters are given lines and also, just a more diverse cast in general. Or if maybe Wes Anderson felt that he needed to add this character in order to make it more appealing to a wider audience. I didn't feel that the character was very necessary, though. There's really only one scene that they fulfill a major purpose, and once again, it's just another translator scene where they're essentially translating what somebody else is saying in Japanese. And I just felt like a lot of the scenes that did involve her throughout the movie were mostly added just to give her a purpose. They weren't scenes that were made because they fit the story. They were made to make the character more important. And I feel like this is such a fantastic story that those weak elements just stick out more than usual because it's so well crafted otherwise. The story is fantastic. Whether you're a dog lover or not, I think the story is something that really anyone can connect to. It's all about fighting for those who can't fight for themselves and making a decision to help other people, essentially. It's definitely a very dark film. This is not a kid's movie. I would definitely recommend that parents be aware that this is a PG-13 movie and it earns its rating. I wouldn't necessarily say that every kid under 13 necessarily should go see this movie. Obviously, if you're a parent, you know your child, so maybe you want to do a little bit more research on the movie, but this isn't a kid's animation. And by that same token, I would recommend that adults or people who usually shy away from animation not reject this movie outright just because it's an animated movie. The story of Atari, this Japanese boy, trying to find his dog is a fantastic story. There's good progression. Other than the handful of minor scenes that are thrown in I mentioned before, it really has good pacing. The characters are very well developed, and they all feel like they've got personality. The musical score isn't on the forefront, but it's very much in the background, just adding to the atmosphere. I think it was a really good choice. There's no song that necessarily comes to my head when I think of the soundtrack, but it really adds to the atmosphere. It adds to every scene in a very subtle way. And the art direction's just really good. I can't imagine how long it took for them to get all these scenes, and it feels like they're trying different kinds of things in so many of the different scenes. There's one scene where all the characters are silhouetted against this fantastic, almost like stained glass window sort of background. It's not stained glass, but it's very interesting to watch. It shakes things up. It makes things look a little bit different in every couple scenes. They understand that they had the ability to experiment a little bit, given their style of animation is kind of more niche anyways, and they took advantage of that, and that's fantastic that they were willing to take some risks, willing to push the envelope just a little bit further. The humor is pretty good too. If you're the kind of person that enjoys a more deadpan humor, and dark humor. All in all, I think this might be my favorite movie of the year so far, and I feel pretty certain it'll probably end up in my top 5 here at the end of the year. So, would I recommend this film? I would certainly recommend it. Go see it in theaters if you have the chance, and even if you don't have the chance, this is one well worth renting and watching with friends and family. It's just a fantastic story, and I think it's one that everyone should take a chance to watch, because I have a feeling that this movie is definitely going to be up for a nomination for Best Animated Picture at the Oscars next year. If it isn't, that's a shame. If you were somebody that enjoyed Kubo and the Two Strings, I think you would probably enjoy this. It's not exactly the same thing. Honestly, I think I enjoyed this movie even more than Kubo and the Two Strings, and I loved that movie when it came out. So if you were a fan of that, I think you might enjoy this. It feels a little bit similar in some ways. Obviously, it's very different. Even in style, it's pretty different. But if you're a fan of stop motion and of really good stories, or either one of those, this is a film you don't want to miss. Thanks for watching my video. I hope that you enjoyed it. And what did you think of Isle of Dogs if you've had the chance to see it? If you could just let me know down in the comments below. Just let me know what you thought of it. I'd love to know what other people think of this movie. And if you could please like this video and share it on Facebook or with your friends and family, that would be fantastic. It would really help me grow this channel. Until the next video, I'll see you then.